Hello, welcome to this video on Hulk Messenger. In this video, we are going to cover the basic configurations for Hulk Messenger and basic usage for Hulk Messenger. Now, this video is a very important and fundamental video because it covers some of the basics of things you need to understand as regards to you doing email marketing for your business. Now, a lot of people, when it comes to emails, don't have a good foundational understanding about emails, especially as regards email marketing for their business. And because of that, they have a lot of misconceptions about how email marketing softwares work and things like that. Now, these are things that we are going to run through in the course of this video. Now, the first thing you need to understand is that Hulk Messenger is a self-hosted application. It's a self-hosted application in that Hulk Messenger is actually hosted on your own servers. So when you have a server, a web hosting account, Hulk Messenger is installed on your account and Hulk Messenger runs and lives on your site. So everything Hulk Messenger does is done on your website. Now, because Hulk Messenger is a self-hosted application which is run on your website, Hulk Messenger uses the resources of your website. And that is why when you are getting web hosting accounts on which Hulk Messenger will run, one of the first things you need to understand is that you need to get a web hosting account that has the capacity to run Hulk Messenger. And the minimum you should get is a VPS server. So you're either getting a VPS server or you are getting a dedicated server. But the minimum you should get should be a VPS server. Now, it is not that Hulk Messenger cannot run on your shared hosting account or lower types of web hosting accounts. The only thing is that you would hit limitations because once you are not having a VPS server, you'd have restrictions about what you can do and what you cannot do. For instance, there are a lot of providers that will tell you, for instance, if you don't have a VPS server, that you cannot run cron jobs on your server. Now, if you cannot run cron jobs on your server, for instance, then it means that using Hulk Messenger is going to be difficult for you. It's going to be difficult for you because there are a lot of background tasks that need to be done 24/7 by your application. And because you cannot run cron, you won't be able to run all those things, and those things will just be there and it will look as if your business is stuck, things are not working for you, your application is not working, the software is not working. So because of that, you need to get a server that has the capacity to run all those things that you need to run. Another very clear or very common example of a problem you would meet in the area of resources when using a software like Hulk Messenger is the amount of emails you are permitted to send on a server that is less than a VPS server. There are web hosts that would, in fact, it's not like there are web hosts. Most shared hosting providers will actually limit your number of outgoing emails per hour. So for instance, you would get a limitation like, okay, you cannot send out more than 100 emails per hour. The moment your business grows beyond sending out 100 emails per hour, you start having problems and your web hosting provider can even shut down your account just because you are sending or you are trying to send out more than 100 emails per hour. Those are resource limitations that you get on shared hosting servers and servers that are lower than a VPS server. A VPS server, which is a virtual private server, actually has more freedom. It gives you more freedom and you are able to use more resources on your server. And so we recommend that you go for a minimum of a VPS server. Now, if you can afford to get a dedicated server, then fine, you can actually go for a dedicated server and run your installation of Hulk Messenger from a dedicated server, but the minimum we recommend is a VPS server. Also, Hulk Messenger is built and tested on Linux servers. It might work on a Windows hosting environment, but what we actively support are Linux-based servers. So you want to get a VPS server that is a Linux-based server. Now, once you have a VPS server that is a Linux-based server, and you have your installation of Hulk Messenger done on that server, then you can begin to use that server. Now, another thing I would like to point out here is that when it comes to your VPS server, there are a lot of web hosting options that you can go for. There are so many web hosting options you can go for as regards your VPS server. However, you need to strike a balance between resources, the amount of resources that are available to you on that server, and the cost of the server. So you need to check that out, because a lot of people ask us these questions, and these are things that you need to work on so that you have a balance. Now, if you are looking for where to purchase a VPS server, you can just go to the recommendation sections of our websites and look at the VPS providers that we have listed there, and then you can get one of those providers and run your copy of Hulk Messenger from that server. Now, once your Hulk Messenger has been installed for you, the next thing you want to do is that you want to start configuration of the of Hulk Messenger. Now, the first thing you want to do is that you want to create your administrative account. Now, when it comes to creating your administrative account, you want to make sure that you create your account with proper information, and you want to also make sure that you create your account with a good password, because this is one of the things that cause security issues when people use applications. So you want to make sure that you are choosing a very strong password when you are starting. This is very, very important. We need to mention this because your entire business is going to be run from Hulk Messenger, and so you want to make sure that the password to access it is a strong password. So a strong password should at least have 8 characters long, and then that password should be a mixture of uppercase characters, lowercase characters. At least it should have numbers and at least 1 or 2 special characters in it. Now, when you combine that together, the password is longer, or is at least 8 characters long. It has upper cases, it has lower cases, it has a number, it has a special character. Then you have produced a password that is relatively strong. So once your copy of Hulk Messenger is installed, the first thing you want to go to the register page. Now, the register page would only be available to you once. It will only be available to you once, because Hulk Messenger is designed as a single user application. The single user application because you are expected to be the only administrator for now. So once you register on Hulk Messenger, it is assumed that you are going to be the one using Hulk Messenger, and so you need to create your administrative account, and that registration page for the administrative account is available to you only once. Let me show you how this is done, and then we'll pick it up from there and we do our basic configurations. So once you have Hulk Messenger installed, now I'm going to be doing this using a demo, so don't worry about the URLs, don't worry about all of that, just focus on what I'm showing you so that you can just know what to do about your installation. Now, once you have Hulk Messenger installed, the first thing you want to do is that, or the first thing you see is when you go into the installation path, that is where Hulk Messenger is installed on your website. Like here, it is installed on my local host. So this is the installation path, is installed inside HM demo. I'm using this as a demo. Now, once you come into this installation path, you are going to see this like a welcome screen. like a welcome screen. So you see this. Now, don't worry about it. This can be customized later because we assume that you are running your mailing list application from this directory, and people coming to your website, because some people will actually come and try to see what you are using, you may need to customize the welcome message they see here. But for now, what you want to do first, once your application has been installed, is that you want to go to the register page. So you are just going to go to the registration page, and then you are going to create an administrative account. That's the first thing you want to do. So you come to your registration page here, and then you enter your first name, you enter your last name, you enter your email address. Make sure you are putting in proper information. So you enter your first name, you enter your last name, your email address, your telephone number. You choose a password. Like I explained earlier, your password should be strong. It should be at least 8 characters long. It should be a mixture of capital letters, small letters, numbers, and special characters. So you enter your password, you confirm your password, and then you create your administrative account. Once you have created your administrative account and your account has been created, the next thing you want to do is you want to go to the login screen, which is available to you at the login page. And then you want to log in with the email address and the password you have created. Now, once you log in with the email and address and the password you have created, the next thing you are going to do is that you will need to enter your license key. So if you don't have a copy of Hulk Messenger yet, you will need to go to the Hulk Messenger website. That's available at Hulk Messenger. Available at HulkMessenger.com. So if you don't have a license key yet, you need to come to the Hulk Messenger website. It's available at HulkMessenger.com. And then once you get to that website, you can just do a buy now, so that you follow through the registration page, and then you do a registration, you log into your account, and if you have not purchased a copy of your license, you get a copy of your license, and then you log into your account and you obtain the copy of your license. Now, please note that your license is a single use license, which means you are expected to use that license on only one site. So don't share your license, because if you share your license, it can lead to bad things happening with your installation of Hulk Messenger, and it may cause a loss of your data, and you don't want to lose your data. So you get your license ready, and then once you have your license ready, go back to your installation of Hulk Messenger. Go to that directory where you have installed Hulk Messenger /login, and then log in with the email address and the password that you have created. I'm going to just do that now so I can show you how to put in your license for activation and how to proceed. So once you have created your account on the Hulk Messenger website, and then you have created your account also on your own installation of Hulk Messenger website, the next thing you want to do is that you want to set your license. You want to set your application license. And to set your application license, you would need to put in the email address with which you registered on the main Hulk Messenger website in here. And then the license key, you need to put in the license key that you have obtained from Hulk Messenger in the other box. So you need to get your license key by purchasing a license from this website. Please remember that you should not share your license. If you share your license, it may lead to bad things happening with your installation of Hulk Messenger, and it may lead to a loss of your data. And once your data is lost, that's like the whole business being lost, because your business is essentially all wrapped in your installation of Hulk Messenger. I'm just going to enter my own license key and email address, and then I'll be back shortly. Okay, so now I have set my license, and once my license has been accepted, the next thing you want to do is you want to come to the dashboard of your Hulk Messenger installation, and you want to start configuration of your Hulk Messenger. Now, you will not be able to do anything until you create your first campaign. Now, the first thing you need to understand is that everything around your your email marketing campaigns and your email marketing, as it were, for your business starts with what we call a campaign. So a campaign is like a container that holds everything. And so before you are able to use Hulk Messenger, you're expected to create at least one campaign. So everything you want to do will now flow from that one campaign. Please remember that Hulk Messenger is not just an autoresponder, it is also a mailing list manager. So it's a mailing list manager in that you are able to manage your contacts, your list of contacts. So all your contacts are available in one place. You can do things like edit, you can do things like delete, you can add more, you can expand your contacts, you can send mails to your contact as a broadcast, and at the same time you can do autoresponder activities based on your broadcast. So autoresponder activity is someone has registered and then the person gets an automatic email message when the person has registered and then can get automatic follow-up messages. So it's not just an autoresponder, it's actually a full suite of a mailing list manager for the application. Now, once you have registered, the first thing you want to do is you want to create a campaign. So you want to go to new campaigns and you want to add at least your first campaign. So you choose a campaign name, you choose a campaign description, and then you choose a from name. Now, the campaign name will be the name of your campaign. The description will be what your campaign is all about. Now, the reason why you want to choose a campaign description is so that in future, because it's possible you start having 20, 30, 40, 50 different campaigns. So in future, you can actually know what each campaign does. So your campaign name should be descriptive, and then you should have a description for your campaign. Then you should have a from name. What name will subscribers see when they get messages from you? Then you should also have a from email, a reply to email. Then you should have a confirm URL, a thank you URL, a failure URL, and an opt-out URL. Now, if some of these things are not provided, Hulk Messenger will try to make a balance here and there. But in case you don't, if you have those information, it is recommended that you put in those information. So there should be a confirmation URL, which means when someone has registered in a double opt-in process, they are first taken to that confirmation URL, and then when they have done a confirmation of their registration, they are taken to the thank you URL. So there should be a failure URL and opt-out URL. These URLs are not compulsory. There is a way Hulk Messenger handles all these for you. Then also you should have an address. Now the footer address is what a simple information about your business. How can people reach you? How do they know that you are the one sending them email messages? So you need to make this configuration also available. Now I'm just going to go back to the dashboard to explain some more things to you. Now, one of the things you want to do once you have your installation of Hulk Messenger is that you want to come down. Okay, let me start with these configurations here. Now, you want to come down to the mail checker settings and you want to configure mail checker. Now, if you try to make these configurations and it doesn't work, then it may mean that you have not done your sending servers. So for now, Hulk Messenger is built to send messages using your server's infrastructure. Now, one of the reasons why Hulk Messenger reduces your costs of using a mailing list application to near zero is the fact that everything is done from your server's infrastructure. So when we talk about sending servers, you have two types of server. There is an incoming email server and then there is an outgoing email server. Your outgoing email servers are those servers through which your mail should be sent out from. It's just like you logging into any regular email, maybe Yahoo or Gmail or any other regular email. And then once you log in, you send a message out. That's an outgoing email server. Now, your server is actually configured to send out messages. That is why if you create an email at yourwebsite.com, you can log into that email and send out an email. So what Hulk Messenger is doing for you is that Hulk Messenger is actually using that same outgoing infrastructure to manage your email sending. And that's one of the reasons why we recommend that you have a VPS server. So your emails are sent out from your outgoing mail servers, which is also using your server's IP address. I'm going to get to that shortly. So one of the things you need to do first when you get your installation of Hulk Messenger is that you need to come to your sending servers and then do a new outgoing server. And an outgoing server is so simple. Just get the installation notes, go to the section for sending servers and follow the instructions. Now, an outgoing mail server is as simple as you have created an email address. For instance, you create an email address that says send@yourwebsite.com. Now, that email address becomes your outgoing mail server. All you need to do is put in the configuration of that email address. For instance, you are looking at, okay, what's the send rate per hour? So if you decide to put your send rate per hour at 5,000, it means that your server has the ability to send 5,000 emails every hour. So if you are sending maybe like 20,000 emails, you want to send an email to like 20,000 subscribers, and you are sending at a rate of 5,000 per hour, it means that it will take you about 4 hours to send that email from your server's infrastructure. If you increase your sending rate per hour to like 10,000, then you will be sending that same email in about just 2 hours. So I'm going to show you how to manage these rates so that the time limits for your sending of mails is reduced drastically, so that you don't have to wait 24 hours before all your emails are sent when you have a bigger and bigger email list. But for now, I'm just going to set this at 5,000 just as an example, and I'm going to click next. The next thing you want to do is that you want to click a mail, you want to pick a mail purpose. The purpose of this particular setting configuration is for outgoing emails. So you want to use outgoing emails. It's preset, and then you want to go next. Here you want to set your mail encryption depending on your server. If you are using cPanel, then your mail encryption should probably be something like SSL. Please see the installation notes. It's available in your Hulk Messenger account. When you created your account, you will see the installation notes, and then you can follow it for cPanel. If it is Webuzo, you probably want to change this to TLS. So if I'm using a Webuzo account, I want to change this to TLS. If I'm using cPanel, I want to change this to SSL. Plain is not recommended because it means that your emails will not be encrypted. This is not recommended for security reasons. So it's either you are using TLS, SSL, or start TLS. So it depends on your server. Whatever it is that your server has as a configuration is what you should use here. For Webuzo, you are using TLS, and for cPanel, you are probably using something like SSL. And then you want to put in the username of that email, the email you want to use. You want to put the username. Usually the username is your full email address, like something like email@example.com. The next thing you want to do is that you want to set the host name and the port. So what's the host name of your site? All these configurations will be provided to you by your web hosting provider. When you look into your site, you would see the specific configurations you need to use. If you use cPanel, if you use Webuzo, please once again refer to the installation notes. So I'm just going to set this as mail@example.com, just as an example, and then you want to set your SMTP port. Now, if you are using cPanel, you would be given your SMTP port. I think for Webuzo, the SMTP port that is recommended for outgoing messages is 587. So you do something like 587. And then you would also want to set your access keys. That's the password to that particular email. So you want to set the password to that particular email address. You put it in the password, and then you confirm the password, and then you set your outgoing mail server. Now, all your emails will be routed through this email address. So when you send an email, it doesn't matter how many campaigns you have. For instance, once you have an installation of HulkMessenger running on your server, you can have 300 websites, you can have 400 websites, and all those websites will have their campaigns created inside HulkMessenger, and then all your emails just go out through your outgoing mail servers. So your outgoing mail servers is just like each time an email is going to be sent, you log into that email server and then you send out the email. That's why we are using the SMTP protocol for sending out email. So you log into that email, you send out. So it's just like you logging into an email and sending out that email. So you need to understand that. Now, when you send an email, there are so many things that happens to that email. For instance, you want to know if your email was opened by the person you sent it to, if the person read the email, if the email was delivered, and if the email failed. And all these are settings that we do under incoming mail server. So I'm just going to go ahead and just configure sending servers, incoming servers, and all of that in the background, and then I'll come back to continue the configurations so that you can see how things are done. So I'm just going to set a live outgoing mail server and then come back quickly. Now, don't forget, as long as the configuration for your outgoing mail server or your incoming mail server is not correct, you'll continue to get an error that things have not been done correctly. So it is only when things have been done correctly that you're actually able to proceed with using HulkMessenger. So I'm just going to do that quickly, and then I'll come back and then we'll continue with our basic configurations. So I have configured my outgoing mail server. The next one I want to configure is my incoming mail server. So I want to also configure my incoming mail server. Now, the incoming mail servers are used to track things like bounce, complaints, read, and deliveries. Now, when you send an email, let's assume you are sending an email to 200 people. You want to know how many of those email addresses bounce. Now, one of the things you need to have in mind when it comes to email marketing is that emails are never good forever. So if you have like 200 or 300 or 5,000 subscribers, after some time, some emails will go bad. For instance, an email may become full. If the email is full and you send an email to that email address, that email will not be delivered. It will not be delivered because that email address is full. Now, that kind of a bounce is a temporary bounce because the person can free up space in that email and then emails are delivered again. So that's a temporary bounce. Another type of bounce is a hard bounce. It's what we call a hard bounce. You send an email to someone and then probably the person had a website before, but the website is no longer in existence, and then you still have that email address. When you send an email to such an email address, that email address will bounce back because that email address is no longer available. Another thing that can happen is that probably the person has a Yahoo or a Gmail address, and the person has not used that email address in a very long time. The ESP, the email service provider, as you have Yahoo, you have Gmail, you have Hotmail, and so on. The ESP, the email service provider, may decide that because that email has not been used in a very long time, they will deactivate the email. When they deactivate that email and you send an email to that email address will bounce back. So there needs to be an effective cleanup system available for you in your mailing list application, and that is why HulkMessenger tracks bounce, complaints, delivery, and read. A complaint is made when you send an email to someone and the person feels like, oh, I don't know this person is sending me an email, I'm not happy with what this person is sending, and then the person makes a complaint. Now, once someone makes a complaint, you need to remove that person from your email list as quickly as possible. When there is a bounce, you need to remove that email from your email list as quickly as possible. These are cleanup processes. Now, if you continue to send an email to an email address that is non-existent and you continue to get bounces after a while, because you continue to send an email to a bounced email address, the ESPs, the email service providers, the likes of Yahoo, Gmail, and so on, will mark you as someone who is sending mails in a very bad way. So once they mark you as someone who is sending a email in a very bad way, you have a negative reputation. And once you have a negative reputation, that's one of the reasons that causes when people send mails and then the mail goes into bulk email folder or spam email folder, or you send an email and the email does not even get delivered at all. So because of that, there is a need for you to have a constant cleanup process. Once an email has bounced, maybe once, we can assume that's a temporary bounce. It bounces the second time. Okay, we can assume it's still a temporary bounce. By the time it bounces the third time, you want to remove that email from your email list. It means that email is bad. There's no point sending an email address repeatedly to an email address that bounces. The same thing happens when there is a complaint. Once someone makes a complaint, you want to remove that email from your mailing list so that you are not sending an email to someone who has made a complaint. Then also you want to track deliveries. You want to know how many of your emails was delivered. You want to know how many of your emails were opened and read. Now, emails being opened and read is not really an exact science. You can only have an estimate because you can fully only track mails that are read when those emails are read in an email client that is HTML enabled. Now, you don't need to bother your head about all these things. All these things are things that HulkMessenger does for you in the background. All you need to do is do your configuration once. So you want to set up your bounce email address. You want to set up your complaint email address. You want to set up your delivery email address. You want to set up your read email address. And you want to make sure you have done all these things beforehand so that all these things are tracked for you automatically. So it may take you some time getting it right. Just stick with it and do it. These are one-time configurations. Once you've done it once, it will continue. HulkMessenger will continue to monitor these emails in the background. So as bounce reports come in, HulkMessenger automatically removes those emails from your email address, from your mailing list. As complaints come in, it is automatically removed from your mailing list. When there is a delivery, there is a log that a delivery has been done. When an email is opened and read, there's a log that your email has been opened. And like I said earlier, reads are actually an estimate. It's not exact science, but you get an idea, an overall idea of how many people have read your emails and things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and configure this, and I'll be back to show you other settings. So I have all my first step of configurations done. I have my incoming mail server set. I have my outgoing mail server set. I have my campaign set. So I've done the first campaign. I've done my incoming mail server. I've done my outgoing mail server. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to work on my configuration. Now, the first configuration you want to work on is what we call a mail checker. Now, you need to go get your installation notes. You can download your installation notes, like I said earlier, and just see how all these things are done. But I'm just going to run through all these configurations and why you need to do them so that you have a basic understanding of why these things are being done. Now, your email checker is a third-party service. Email checkers are third-party services that check the validity of an email address before that email is even entered into your email address at all. Now, one of the things that an email checker will do for you, like one of the things that HulkMessenger will do for you with an email checker, is the fact that it will not allow bad emails to enter your email address. Now, there are some very toxic emails that you don't want in your mailing list at all. You don't want those email addresses in your mailing list at all. Like someone is coming, for instance, and is registering with a disposable email address, because we have what we call disposable email addresses. Now, if someone is registering for your newsletter with a disposable email address, now that person will probably not even go back to check that email address again, and you will continue to send emails to that disposable email address. So it means that that person will register, collect your whatever free gift you are giving, and then the person will never come back again. And that means you have lost business because that person is not using an email address that is valid, an email address that he or her checks regularly. So when you send out your marketing messages, it doesn't go anywhere. So you think you have 5,000 subscribers, but in reality, you have probably just 1,500 or thereabouts. An example of such an email, of such a disposable email service is a service we call GetNada. Now there are so many of them, but GetNada is a very quick example that comes to mind. So if you go to getnada.com, for instance, you can just get a disposable email address. Now you want to prevent email addresses like this from entering your list. So when someone comes to your website and tries to register with this kind of email address, you want to make sure that that person is blocked. And the way to block that is to set up an email checker service. So what you want to do is you want to choose an email checker of your choice. Right now we support these three: zero bounce, email list verify, and never bounce. So you want to pick which one of the three you want to use, and then you put a credit in that email checker service. Is a third-party service. We don't own those services. We don't run those services. You want to put some credits there, and I can guarantee you the amount you are going to spend to verify each email address will actually be worth it in the long run because you are removing bad email addresses from your list. So you pick which one you want, and then you get the API for that particular email checker service. You get the email address for that you are going to test with, and then you set up that email checker service. Once you have set up that email checker service, you now choose that email checker service as your default. So you come back here and you choose that email checker service as your default email checker service. So once an email is entering into your mailing list, that email is first checked to be sure that that email is clean. Now, one of the other reasons why you want to do that is that you want to avoid spam traps. Now, there's something called a spam trap. There are times when you get toxic emails being entered into your mailing list. Once that kind of a toxic email is entered into your email, for instance, if someone has harvested emails from the internet using an email harvester, these are emails that normally you are not supposed to see them. They are not supposed to be seen or used. If by any means that kind of email gets into your mailing list, it will cause a lot of problems for you because your IP address will be marked as an IP address that sends spam. And once your IP address is marked as an IP address that sends spam, one of two things will happen. Number one is either your emails are not even sent at all, or your emails are sent but they go into the spam box of your recipients. So you want to make sure that you set up the email checker service that you have entered there as your default. Now, once you do that, this notice that you don't have an email checker running will go away. So this notice does not affect the performance of your application. If you don't set an email checker service, it doesn't affect anything. Nothing will happen, but it is recommended that you set an email checker service and have an email checker service running. The next configuration you want to do is you want to set up an S3 backup. So what we do is that we back up our mailing list at least once a day. So once a day, your entire mailing list is backed up to an offshore storage system. And the storage system we have chosen is Amazon S3. So please look into the installation notes and see the area where we talk about configuring your S3 account. So I'm just going to run through why you need to do this here quickly. Now, the reason why you need to set up a storage system so that you can have an off-site backup system running for you at least once a day is because anything can happen. Now you are dealing with a computer. Your server is a computer hosted somewhere. Anything can happen to that computer. If something happens at the data center and you lose your site, you lose the information on your site, you lose the data on your site, and you don't have backups, especially for your mailing list, 10 years of work can be lost in a single day. That is why you need to have backups. Now, when you have a backup of your mailing list, whatever happens to your site, even if your site goes down or something happens, you can just buy another web hosting account somewhere, or once the issue has been resolved, you can pick up one of the nodes, one of the backups that has been done in recent times to an offshore site and just reinstall and have everything running again. So HulkMessenger does a backup of your site every day, and it is very, very important that you make sure that at least once a week you check to make sure that those backups are being done to your Amazon S3 account. So for now, we support Amazon S3 and your backups are done automatically to Amazon S3. Now, one of the reasons why we don't do backup to the server where HulkMessenger is installed is because if we do a backup to the server where HulkMessenger is installed, we have not done anything. If something happens to the server, that backup is still lost, so we've not really achieved anything. So the best thing to do is to do the backup to a cloud service like Amazon S3, where we know that if anything happens to our sites, we have something to make a comeback from. And HulkMessenger will always back up your site around 2-3 a.m. to make sure that every day the latest copy. So if you are losing anything, you are going to lose just about half or a day's work. So you can always make a comeback from those restoration notes. So every day, a copy of HulkMessenger is backed up to Amazon S3. So please see the specific configuration from Amazon S3, and I will always encourage that you do not even start doing anything serious with HulkMessenger until you are sure that your S3 configuration is set. Now, if you are trying to configure Amazon S3 and it is not working, that means that there's something wrong at the Amazon end of things. So what you can do is that just click on the AWS logo. Once you log into your Amazon Web Services account, that's your AWS account, log into your AWS account, click on the AWS logo. You will be given a dashboard. In that dashboard, just search for S3. Search for S3. If you search for S3, and then you click on S3, to take you to the S3 console of Amazon Web Services. Once you get to the S3 console of Amazon Web Services, most of the time, the reason why you are unable to complete your Amazon S3 configuration is simply because you have not finished registration at Amazon. So if you do the steps I just gave you, you will be given what you are yet to do on Amazon Web Services, and then you can just follow those instructions and complete your registration on Amazon. So if you are trying to configure and it is not working, there's nothing wrong with HulkMessenger, there's nothing wrong with your site. It simply means that you probably have not completed your configuration on Amazon Web Services, and then you need to go back to Amazon Web Services to complete your registration. Now, if you try to complete your registration on Amazon Web Services and you are unable to complete your registration on Amazon Web Services, please write Amazon so that they tell you what you should do to complete your registration. Now, this is a very, very important step. There's nothing wrong with HulkMessenger. Once again, you need to go back to Amazon and resolve the issue you have. And once that configuration is done, you discover that every day a backup will be sent to Amazon. And if you have any problems and you need to make a restoration of your entire mailing list, you can just use that backup that was done to Amazon to restore your site. And the next configuration you want to do is your default mailing list. You want to do your default email settings. So you want to do your from email address. Now, this is what people would see. Usually you should set this to probably something at your website.com. Then you should have a no reply email address. So you want to do maybe like no reply at yourwebsite.com. Then you want to set a default from name. What name will people see as your from name? Then you want to have a notification email address. So if there's something wrong with your site, HulkMessenger will generally communicate with you that, okay, there's something wrong. I tried to do a backup, it did not work. So you need to put one of your email addresses where HulkMessenger can reach you with notifications when there's something wrong with your installation of HulkMessenger. Now, the next thing you want to do is that you want to set your site name. So right now, the default site name is HulkMessenger. The default site URL is HulkMessenger. You want to change the site name to a default, so something that will show your brand. So you want to put your brand here, and then you want to put your site URL also. You want to put something that shows your brand. So you probably need to put something like yoursite.com or thereabouts. Then you want to set a time zone. So time zone will determine what time certain actions are taken on your site, because HulkMessenger runs in the background continually. So you want to choose a correct time zone. Now, if you are in Nigeria, you probably want to pick Africa Lagos for a Nigerian time so that operations can be done in a timely manner on your installation of HulkMessenger. If you pick a time zone that is not relevant, then HulkMessenger will work based on that time zone, and things may not be done at the appropriate time. May not be done at the appropriate time. So you want to make sure that everything you are doing, everything you are setting is being set to a time that fits your location. So where you are should also be a time that you set as your time zone. All right, let's move on with the configuration. Then you want to also have a flush time or flush time. So we have what we call a lock in HulkMessenger, so that we will prevent undue load on your server. Remember, HulkMessenger is using your server resources, and we want to prevent undue load. Now, to prevent undue load, we want to make sure that things are not just done anyhow, and things are not just eating up your server resources anyhow. So because of that, we have a time lock in place. So once an activity starts, that activity is locked so that it is not repeated. It is when that activity is completed that another such activity will be allowed to run again. Now, there are times when anything can happen. Probably in the course of running a particular activity, you do a server restart, and then that activity is not completed. Remember, we already locked that activity and we did not remove that activity because there was an interruption. Now, in such a case, we will need to flush that activity such that we open up that channel again for other things to run. So we have set a default time of 180 seconds. So if after 180 seconds, an activity remains in place, it's still running, we will remove that flush and allow things to run again. So we have that to just manage your server resources. So you can just leave the default. The default is set there. You can leave it. Then you have an auto update setting. Now, by default, your installation of HulkMessenger is set to update itself automatically. Now, when there is a change, probably we have upgraded the application because we are in continual development of the application. We keep improving things. We keep making it better. So if you set it to auto update, what will happen is that once there is a new update, then your application is automatically updated. But if you turn off the update, it means that once it is off, when there is an update, then nothing will happen to your installation of HulkMessenger. It will remain the same. Now, this is not what you want. What you want is that you want to have the update set to be on so that it runs automatically for you. Now, another thing where you should really pay attention is what we call your reputation dashboard. Right now, I don't have any domain or IP to monitor, But your reputation is very, 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 very important. And you need to read some of the notes that we have here. Now, what happens is that once you buy a new server, that server comes with an IP address. Now, the moment you buy a new server and you start sending emails from that server, what happens is that people don't know you. People don't know your server. People don't know your domain name. Your domain name is new. Your IP address is new. So if you just install HulkMessenger today, for instance, and you just load in like 10,000 email addresses on HulkMessenger, and you send out 10,000 email addresses immediately with HulkMessenger, the same week that you purchased your server, the same week that you got your IP address, the same week that you registered your domain name, what will happen is that sending of 10,000 emails at a time will trigger spam alerts, because that's a behavior that is similar to what spammers do online. So what you want to do is that you want to do what we call an IP warming. And IP warming is a process where once you install HulkMessenger, you don't just start sending emails anyhow. You go gradually. So probably you start sending maybe like 5 a day, 100, 20, 200, 300. Then in a period of maybe like a month or 2 months, you now reach a point where you can send like 10,000 emails and nothing will happen. So that's an IP warming. We call it IP warming, or email address warming, or domain warming, because there is what we call a reputation online, and that reputation is being monitored by all these ESPs. That's the email service providers. They are always watching this reputation. So once you get an email, once you get your installation of HulkMessenger and you just start sending emails immediately, then it will trigger a negative reputation for your IP. So you have to take it easily. You have to take it gradually. So when you start sending, for instance, once you install HulkMessenger now and you start sending emails, your emails, you will discover some of your emails will start going to your spam and things like that. Now, when these kind of things start happening, just keep sending. You see, HulkMessenger itself does not determine if your email will go to spam or inbox or anything like that. It has nothing to do with HulkMessenger. It has nothing to do with the email you are sending. It has everything to do with a lot of things that are outside the control of HulkMessenger. So when you send an email, one of the things that affects if your email will go to spam or not are, number one, your IP reputation. Is your IP reputable? So over time, has your email sending been consistent? Over time, have you been sending the volume of emails that you are trying to send? How long have you sent? So if you send an email today and then you have to wait another 3 months before you send another email, then your IP has no real reputation and your emails may go to spam. So what I would recommend is that once you get HulkMessenger, send emails consistently. Start sending gradually. After a time, increase the volume. After a time, increase the volume. And then make your sending consistent so that the email service providers know that emails come from you. Another thing that affects if your email goes to spam or not is the quality of emails you send. You see, there are certain words that if you send in your email will trigger spam filters, because you see, it's not like all these email service providers sit down to monitor the emails you send. They've written softwares that track and monitor these things automatically. So if your email appears spammy, there are words that you will use in your email that will trigger spam filters and things like that. If your email appears spammy, then automatically when you send such an email, it will trigger spam filters and your emails will go to spam. It has nothing to do with HulkMessenger. Another thing is, how well are you engaging? If you send an email and nobody is opening your emails, the people you are sending emails to are not opening your emails, then your email has a low engagement. Once people are not opening your emails, then over time, your emails will start going to spam, because it is perceived that your emails is an email that people don't want. And if people are not reading your emails, then it means that your email is spam. So after time, your emails goes to spam. So all these things are things that you need to put into consideration when you start sending emails, the subject of your email, the content of your email, the quality of what you have to offer, all these things come to play to affect how well your emails are delivered and how well your emails reach the inbox of your target subscribers. So you need to pay attention to this. So what you want to do here is that you want to monitor your IP. So here you have to add your IP address. So add the IP address of your site, add if it's a domain name, choose a domain so you can monitor your domain, you can monitor IP address, and then HulkMessenger will automatically monitor your reputation for you. So anytime you want to see what reputation you have, you just come to the reputation dashboard, and then HulkMessenger will show you what reputation you are having. So the higher the reputation you have, the better for you. And remember, reputation goes up with time. So just keep sending your emails. As your reputation improves, the delivery of your email into inbox will also improve. As you write and engage with your customers, that means people receiving your emails are opening up your emails, they are reading your emails, then your reputation will improve and your emails will start getting into inbox. So your reputation is in your hands. Your email getting into inbox is in your hands. That has nothing to do with HulkMessenger. It has everything to do with your IP address. It has everything to do with the quality of emails you are sending. It has everything to do with your reputation. Now, for your reputation also, you want to make sure that you set your reputation API. So you can use Whois XML. Please see the installation notes and see how you can configure your reputation monitoring. So you have your reputation being monitored for you in the background by HulkMessenger. These are configurations that you do want, and everything is tracked for you in the background. You don't have to do anything else. Everything is tracked for you in the background. Now, you can also modify your homepage. When you configure HulkMessenger and then you go to the front page of HulkMessenger, let me just show you quickly. If you go to the front page of HulkMessenger, I paste, okay. So if you come to the front page of HulkMessenger, you see this. Now you can change this to your own brand so that people see you. You can put in an opt-in form, for instance. You can put in a marketing message. It can be your logo. It can be a link to another part of your website. It can be anything. So you can easily do that by coming to this modify homepage, and then you can change the design that you have here. So if I change what is here, for instance, instead of attract, engage, convert, let me say I change this to example.com and I make it a link. Let me say I change this to example.com and I select it and I make it to be a link. So all I need to just do is click the link and then I set it to go to example.com and I say okay, and then I save. Now if I come back to the home page here and I do a refresh, you will notice that what is here has now changed. So if I click here now, I would be taken to example.com. So you can actually configure what you have on the home page by going to under config, just go to modify home page, and then you can change what you have in the home page. So what we have done is a basic walkthrough of HulkMessenger, and with this, I believe you should have a firmer understanding of how emails work, how HulkMessenger work, and this will help you to launch a more profitable email campaign. I'll see you in the next video.